Hey, what's up, fellas? How you doing, man? Antonelli here.
Hey, what's going on, guys? How we doing? Matt Antonelli here. Before we get into our video today, today's video is sponsored by Super Speed Slugger. So we use Super Speed Slugger's overload, underload training bats. This is one right here. We use it with all of our Antonelli baseball teams. We highly recommend that you check them out. Just go to the description box below, click the link there. It's going to take you over to their site, and you can check them out there. So we're going to check out a video real quick of Jose Bautista talking about some of the swing changes that he made that helped him go from, a guy that was probably going to be possibly out of the league, or at least not a big contributor, to being, one of the better hitters in the league for a while.
I felt like I had enough talent to be an everyday major leaguer. And I did have to make some changes to my hitting approach and the way I went up to the plate. Because I used to get started so late that the only way that I could try to be on time sometimes was to be quick. So this was my speed. So by the time I tried to come around, the ball was already on top of the plate and everything was so late. So and I had heard it a million times. Start slower and early, but to me that didn't make a lot of sense until we watched video. We got a mirror, they showed me.
Do you remember the first time that you applied those changes in a game?
It was a day game against the Twins here at home, and I felt like my hands just flew through the zone, and I hit a home run to left field. And that's when I felt it click, and I was like, this is how it should feel. Now I completely understand what they're trying to tell me, and I just have to keep working.
Okay, so the big thing that he talks about is getting ready earlier, right? He talks about his load and how that was the big adjustment. So a couple of things. One, here's another example of a guy that was in the big leagues but wasn't really playing well, wasn't hitting the ball very well, wasn't a consistent player. And by making some swing changes, he turned himself into an all-star, a guy that was hitting tons of home runs. Everything went up. His average went up, his power went up, and all of a sudden he became a middle of the order, just dynamic hitter. And so let's talk about, the big thing that he talks about changing was loading earlier. He says that he was much later before, and, a couple of hitting coaches talked to him about how he had to get ready much, much earlier. The interesting thing is, when you look at his load and the changes that he made, it wasn't just that he got ready earlier, it's that he actually got loaded much better. If you look at his swing back when he's with Pittsburgh, there was almost no load, right? It was just boom, go. It was just forward. So there was no load into his back hip. And so he talks about how he got ready earlier, but really he actually finally began to get loaded up, right? So he did get ready earlier, but it was more than just getting ready earlier, right? All of a sudden now he started getting this leg kick, and I don't want you to think like, oh, I need a leg kick now because he went from no leg kick to leg kick. But what you forget about the leg kick part of it. Just look at the actual load and how much more he's getting into his back hip when he went to the Blue Jays versus when he was in Pittsburgh. Again, when he was with Pittsburgh, there was very little load. It was very quick, and so when it is quick like that, you can't get a load if it's quick, boom, there, right? And so now with the Blue Jays, he started to get, his leg kick became bigger, but really it was just getting loaded into his hip more. With that kind of came an earlier load, obviously, and then a little bit bigger of a kick. But you don't need to have a big kick to be able to get into your back hip. You can have a smaller stride and still get there, but you still need to make sure that it's getting loaded earlier, right? Again, if it's too quick, if it's just like load hit, like how can you ever get into your back hip? You can't, right? It's got to be load hit, right? So it's got to be early, it's got to be slow, and that will allow you to get more into your back hip. And that was, for me, the really big difference, okay? Again, before everything's forward, right? And it's really hard, again, to allow the body to work in the right sequence. It's pretty much impossible when you don't get into your back hip and you just go forward. All right, so we've made a bunch of videos on this in the past. Go and check them out. Go and check out all of our videos about getting into the back hip and pull back and swing sequence and all that stuff. I'm not going to go completely into that today, but I do want you to really start to pay attention to how he loaded differently, right? How he got into his back hip so much better when he was with the Blue Jays than he ever did when he was with Pittsburgh. I think that's the real big difference. And again, the thing he always talks about is getting ready earlier. And even if you get ready earlier, but you don't get into your back hip, you get ready earlier, but you still just kind of fall forward, not much would have changed. So yes, he was getting ready earlier, but I think what happened was really the earlier load got him, and the way he started to load, and he had that, again, a little bit of that leg kick. The main thing to take away is getting into your back hip before you begin your swing, before you launch your barrel. So hopefully that makes sense. Comment in the section below, subscribe to the channel, give it a thumbs up. I'd appreciate that. Share with all your friends, all that good stuff. And that's all I have. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate you watching, and we'll talk to you later.